I want to thank everybody for that. We've got one more speaker to go. Probably most of you know him. If not, you're in for a treat. Always a great presenter. Always a lot of ideas. David Israti.
Thank you, David, for putting this on, and thank you all of you for taking time out of your day coming here. One small little oddity here. You're going to hear 5 people. 2 of us went to the same high school, Peter Beckendorf. It was a year ahead of me at Clinton Heights High School, and it's funny, we both ended up in Dayton in this room this morning presenting. So the world is, you know, I always talk about Dayton having 1.2 degrees of separation, and it just continues to keep happening. So, you know, when I started in this business, I was graced with a really good mentor. His name was Larry Holland. He said there are no, you know, original ideas. There's just you build up a library of things, and then you synergize, you bring them together, and the people who have the best libraries of ideas and pull things together, they end up with the best work. It's all about having a big base of things to work with. And Larry died, and I can't believe this. It's been like 13 years ago, and I really miss him. And I think he would have been here this morning and having a great time. He might not have said a lot, but he would have said this is a good thing. So my idea is one that, you know, if it's staring all of us in the face. Right now, you've all heard of the X Prize. The first one was you could do space flight, you know, without NASA and everything, and it was won by the guys with the, what was the name of the plane? I can't, anyways, Virgin Galactic's gonna take it. And now the new X Prize is to do the 100-mile-per-gallon car. What if I told all of you, you've already had experience with a 100-mile-per-gallon vehicle? And you probably have one right now. Bicycle, yes, my big idea. Going back to the Wright brothers. Because everything in Dayton starts with the Wright brothers, right? Everything has to have the Wright brothers in it. But my big idea is to bring a bicycle sharing program to the city of Dayton. Now, bicycle sharing isn't something new. It's been around for a long time. When I was in grade school, it meant you left your bike unlocked, somebody stole it, and then you found it. But I used to love my bike. I think when I was 12, riding around on my Huffy, going back and forth, I didn't have a 10-speed. I had a 1-speed with a coaster brake, and I used to be able to go anywhere on that. It was great, and it gave me mobility, and my community was right wherever I could ride to. And how many of you drove here this morning? How many of you drove here by yourself? Almost all of you. How many of you felt serious pain when gas was $4 a gallon? It's going to go back up. It's guaranteed to happen. Gasoline is a finite resource. So, bicycles. As long as we're alive, we have the resources and the energy to pedal our butts around town. Now, people get confused. They think of, you know, that means you got to be one of these hardcore bicyclists. You got to get on the bike and you got to ride. And that's not what bike share is about. Bike share is about taking little, less than 30-minute trips from wherever there's a large concentration of people to the places in the immediate area. It's a way of getting people connected back to their communities, to local stores, to each other. Because think about it. You go someplace like, you drive to Sinclair. Every day, probably 12,000 people drive to Sinclair in a single car. And then they're captivated by that parking garage. It locks them there. It keeps them there. They can't get away because if they leave, then they got to park again. And that's difficult to do in a short period of time. But within, you know, a quick 5-minute bike ride, they could get to the Oregon District. They could get to Riverscape. They could get to the Dragons Field. They could get to the 2nd Street Market. They could do all these things. But they didn't bring a bike in their car. And even so, if they did, you know, it's not always going to be there. And, you know, so if there's a bike station, and the bike station would be called a B station in the plan I'm looking at, there'd be bikes. And you'd walk on up and you'd stick your pass in and you pull it out and it would grant you access to a bike and you would ride to the next B station where you would then put the bike in the dock and go do about your business. And then when you're done, you'd go back to B station, grab another bike and ride off again. If you go over 30 minutes, you'd start getting charged. The bike has a built-in lock, so you can lock it to anything, anywhere, you know, along the course of your travels. If you do get to a B station, there are too many bikes in the rack, because people say, oh my God, what happens if there's something there? You're granted extra time to go to the next B station, and these are relatively close together. So, how much does all this cost? Well, if I told you it costs less than to do a pilot program with, I think it's 250 bikes and 35 B stations in the core city, where we can get started, where there's the biggest mass of people and things are still relatively close together because they were all built before we started building interchanges and highways and 4-car garages and SUVs. But if we start out with that, we can do it for less than the price of 4 city buses. And not only does it cut down the use of gas, it cuts down the carbon emissions, it makes us a healthier community. Because if you just ride, if 10% of us just ride 30 minutes on this thing, we lose something like, what was the weight? 20,000 pounds? So right there, that's a good start, because everybody needs to lose 20,000 pounds now. So if we had a full system in this area, in this Dayton, covering 500,000 or so people, we could save 714 tons of carbon each year emissions. We could get 50,000 cars off the street, meaning less upkeep on roads in terms of paving, maintenance, you know, building new roads, all that stuff. We could save 73,683 gallons of gas, and we could save over $1 million. Have any of you had a friend that's gone carless and just said, chuck the car and lived here? One. A friend of mine who's in the visual communications business, Bill Logan, did it. He figured he was saving somewhere between around $3,000 a year by not having a car. No car payment, no gas, no insurance, no maintenance, all those things together. Plus he was in great shape. He needed a car, he'd borrow one. He'd get a friend to take him somewhere. The rest of the time he was out there on his bike. And I think he did it for about 3 years, and he got enough money to go to grad school. So there are all kinds of benefits in terms of bringing the creative class to this community, or giving us an ability to get the creative class. Think about it. You could live downtown, you'd have a vehicle to get around without having to pay for it. Your cost of living decreases, yet your interaction with your community increases. Now, this isn't an easy project to pull off. It's going to take a lot of people getting behind it. It's not going to just be me waving the flag. I've already talked to Five Rivers Metro Parks, and Greg Brummett, who runs Five Rivers Outdoors, is big behind it. He then showed it to Dr. Urban, who's doing the art stuff. He's already excited. I've talked to Bob Busher at Miami Valley Hospital, and he's walking it through the place. I've started talking to, I sent a message over to Rick Perales over at UD, who are having serious growth pains because all these students want to bring cars. And the campus just can't keep growing with more people coming there by car. So, if we can get a whole bunch of people in Dayton, which is known as a herd, we will be heard. And it's going to take all of us spreading this idea and telling your friends and saying, hey, we want this Bcycle thing, and we don't care, you know, how much it's going to cost, because in the end run, it's a lot cheaper than anything else we can do, because it's powered by us. It's one of those things, it's for us. It's not one of these pie-in-the-sky silver bullet things that's only for a small thing or benefits. You know, it could benefit everybody. The idea is to get us to start thinking of intermodal transportation, where you might grab the bus and then get on the bike, or you drive your car to a lot somewhere and grab a bike to get to your various errands, because it's a lot easier than parking. It'll cut down. Everyone says downtown the problem is parking. Well, you know how many bikes in a B station fit in one parking space? 10. 10. So all of a sudden, you take all those parking spaces downtown, and they just multiply, and you can have people parking on the periphery and taking a bike in, and we can have all kinds of things. And you say, oh, but in the winter, well, Dayton, sometimes in January it's 68 degrees. Wouldn't it be great just to be able to grab a bike and it's ready to go and hop on it and go on those days when you feel like it? So, I need you to do one thing. I need you to go to a website that says, it's Bcycle, letter B, cycle.com. And there's a thing that says, who wants it more? And all you got to do is go watch a little presentation, fill out your name and address and your zip code, and say Dayton, Ohio, and say, we